Ladies and gentlemen, imagine holding a small, simple nickel in your hand, something most people would toss into a jar, drop on the counter, or even leave on the ground without a second thought. Now, imagine that same ordinary coin being worth more than an entire lifetime of hard work, enough to change your destiny in a single heartbeat. This is not a fairy tale. This is not fiction. This is real, shocking, and happening right now in the world of rare coin auctions. Tonight, we are uncovering the top 10 most valuable Monticello Jefferson nickels, hidden treasures that could be sitting quietly in your drawer, waiting to explode in value like pure gold. Each of these coins carries history, mystery, and a story so powerful it will shake you to your core. And one of them, ladies and gentlemen, is so rare, so desired, that collectors are battling with six-figure bids to claim it. Stay tuned, because as we count down, the secrets get deeper, the rarity grows sharper, and the value skyrockets beyond belief. And I promise you, by the end of this video, you will never look at pocket change the same way again. Welcome to Rare Coinix Secret, the most trusted, faithful, and exciting channel for collectors across America and beyond. Let's dive straight into our journey of treasure, mystery, and unimaginable fortune. The story of this coin begins in a time when America was standing on the edge of great change. The year was 1940, a nation on the brink of entering World War II, industry shifting, and the mint striking millions of coins that would circulate during one of the most pivotal decades in our history. Among these coins was the iconic Jefferson Nickel, designed by Felix Schlag, proudly displaying Monticello, Thomas Jefferson's Grand Virginia estate. At first glance, the 1940 nickel may seem ordinary, but this specific variety without a mint mark, appearing in an enchanting deep black shade, and preserved in very fine condition, is anything but ordinary. It is a coin that tells a story, a coin that has journeyed through over 80 years of American history, and against all odds, survived with a look that collectors now crave like a hidden gemstone. What makes this treasure so unique is its composition and heritage. Struck in 75% copper and 20% nickel, this piece carries the weight of history in your hand. Whether you are a seasoned collector or new to the world of numismatics, this rare Monticello nickel beckons you to discover its full story. The exact number of these specimens in existence remains a closely guarded secret, making it a true rarity and a treasure for those who appreciate the beauty of numismatics. Each coin has its own story to tell, a unique chapter in the collection of American history. As we reveal our top 10 list, you'll discover that these coins are more than just currency. They are treasures that can change lives, inspire passions, and create legacies. 25% nickel. These wartime-era nickels carried more than just value. They carried the weight of a nation preparing for global conflict. While millions were produced, only a tiny fraction today show the striking, dark-toned luster that gives this piece its almost black, hauntingly beautiful surface. This unusual coloring is no accident. It is the result of careful preservation, natural toning over decades, and a rare combination of environmental conditions. To collectors, this is not just patina, it is personality. The rarity lies in the details. Ladies and gentlemen, brace yourselves, because what I'm about to reveal might completely change the way you look at a simple 5-cent coin forever. We're moving to number 2 on our list, and this one is pure shock, pure mystery, and pure collector obsession. The year is 1946. The world had just emerged from the chaos of World War II. Soldiers were returning home, industries were rebuilding, and America was stepping into a brand new era of hope and power. But hidden within that transition, quietly struck at the US Mint, was a coin that no one at the time could have imagined would one day ignite bidding wars and send collectors into a frenzy. We're talking about the 1946 Jefferson Nickel, a coin that looks ordinary, but in the right condition, with the right features, becomes an absolute monster in the world of rare coins. Now let me ask you something. What if I told you that a coin you could still find in circulation, or tucked away in an old jar, could be worth not just hundreds, not just thousands, but potentially tens of thousands of dollars? Sounds unbelievable? Stay with me, because the truth is even more shocking. This coin was designed by the legendary Felix Schlag, featuring the calm, dignified profile of Thomas Jefferson on the front and his iconic estate, Monticello, on the reverse. Because achieving those full steps required near-perfect striking conditions, something incredibly rare in 1946, when minting quality was still stabilizing after the war years. And that's not all. Some of these coins develop a deep, dramatic toning, shades of charcoal, midnight blue, even hints of gold, creating a surface so mesmerizing, so hauntingly beautiful, that collectors describe it as liquid history frozen in metal. Fear of missing out on a once-in-a-lifetime piece, because here's the cold, hard truth. Most of these coins were heavily circulated, worn down, damaged, forgotten, which means the number of pristine survivors today extremely limited. And every year, that number effectively shrinks. Coins get lost, collections get broken, quality disappears. But demand, it only grows stronger. So somewhere out there, maybe in an old drawer, maybe in a forgotten box, maybe even in your own pocket change, there could be a 1946 Jefferson Nickel quietly waiting to be discovered, waiting to shock you. Now the story takes another turn, and this time it moves away from quarters into something even more overlooked, something people handle every day without a second thought. The humble nickel, and not just any nickel, but the 1983 Jefferson Nickel, a coin that most people would never imagine could carry anything unusual. Yet beneath its ordinary appearance, there are details, variations, and hidden factors that have caught the attention of serious collectors and created moments of real surprise. The 1983 nickel features the familiar portrait of Thomas Jefferson on the front and his historic home Monticello on the reverse, a design that had already been in use for decades by that point, which is exactly why people stopped looking closely at it. Because when something becomes familiar, it becomes invisible, and that is where the opportunity begins. Because 1983 was a year of massive production, millions upon millions of nickels. We're struck at both Philadelphia and Denver, and whenever coins are produced at that scale, the chances of unusual variations increase. Not every coin comes out exactly the same, even though they are meant to, and those small differences are what separate an ordinary coin from something worth a second look. One of the most talked about features in 1983. Nickels involves strike quality. Some coins from this year show unusually weak details, especially on Monticello, where the steps at the base of the building can appear faded or incomplete, while others display sharper details with clearer lines and stronger definition. And that difference matters because collectors often seek out coins with full steps, meaning the horizontal lines at the base of Monticello are clearly visible and uninterrupted. Coins with full steps in high-grade condition can stand out dramatically compared to the average piece. Then there is the possibility of double die varieties. Although they are not extremely common, any sign of doubling in the lettering or design elements can make a coin far more interesting. Imagine looking at the word liberty or the date and noticing a slight shadow effect as if the letters were stamped twice that is not damage. It is a minting variation, and coins like that immediately draw attention from collectors who specialize in identifying these subtle differences. Another category that adds to the mystery is die deterioration over time. The dies used to strike coins wear down as they are used repeatedly, and this wear can create unusual textures, flow lines or distortions on the surface of the coin. Sometimes the fields appear slightly rippled. Sometimes the details seem stretched or uneven, and while these changes might seem minor, they can help identify specific die states which collectors track and study. There are also off-center strikes, clipped planchets, and other physical errors that can occur during the minting process. These are less subtle and often more dramatic. A nickel that is not perfectly round or one where part of the design is missing immediately stands out. Yet many people who encounter such coins assume they are simply damaged and spend them without realizing that collectors often value these kinds of errors precisely because they are different. And then there is the factor that surprises many people. Condition, because even a very common coin can become desirable if it has been preserved in exceptional shape. A 1983 nickel that still has its original luster. Sharp edges and no visible wear is far less common than one that has circulated for decades, and when such a coin is graded at a high level, its value can increase far beyond what most people expect. What makes this even more compelling is how easily these coins blend into everyday life. They are still out there in circulation, still sitting in jars, still passing through hands unnoticed, because no one expects a nickel to be worth more than 5 cents. And that expectation is exactly what allows interesting pieces to go undetected. There are stories from collectors who found valuable nickels in the most ordinary places, a handful of change from a convenience store, a roll of coins from a bank, an old collection that had been forgotten for years, and within those ordinary moments, there was a single coin that looked just slightly different, just enough to raise a question, and that question led to discovery. But it is important to stay grounded, because not every 1983 nickel is valuable. In fact, the vast majority are worth exactly their face value. The difference comes down to specific features, specific errors, and specific levels of preservation. Without those, the coin remains ordinary. So if you want to explore this for yourself, start simple, gather any nickels you have, and look for the 1983 date check, the mint mark. See if it was struck in Philadelphia or Denver. Examine the steps on Monticello. Look for clarity and completeness. Inspect the lettering for any signs of doubling, and pay attention to the overall condition. Does the coin look worn, or does it still have a bright, clean surface? Take your time because the details are small and easy to miss. Use good lighting and, if possible, magnification. Compare multiple coins side by side. Because sometimes the easiest way to notice something unusual is to see how it differs from what is normal, and as you do this, you may begin to notice a shift, not just in what you see, but in how you see it. Coins stop being just coins, they become objects with history, variation, and potential. Each one a small record of the moment it was created and the path it has taken since. Imagine holding a small coin in your hand and not realizing it could be worth thousands of dollars. Today we are talking about the 1939 Jefferson Nickel, one of the most surprising and rare coins in United States history. And trust me, what you are about to learn might make you check your pocket change right now. The Jefferson nickel was first introduced in 1938, replacing the Buffalo nickel, but in 1939, something unusual happened that created rare and valuable varieties that collectors are still hunting for today. Now here is where it gets exciting. There are actually two major types of the 1939 Jefferson nickel: the reverse of 1938 and the reverse of 1940, and this small design change makes a huge difference in value. The reverse of 1938 version has weaker details on the steps of Monticello, while the reverse of 1940 shows sharper, clearer steps, and collectors love those details, especially when the steps are fully visible. But wait, it gets even better. There is a rare error coin from 1939 known as the double die reverse. This is where the design appears slightly doubled, especially in the lettering on the back. And if you find one of these in good condition, it can sell for hundreds or even thousands of dollars. Another shocking fact is that condition matters a lot. A regular 1939 nickel might only be worth a few dollars, but a high-grade example with full steps can reach incredible prices at auctions. Some collectors have paid over $10,000 for the finest known examples, yes, for a nickel that once bought almost nothing. And here is the part that makes this story even more exciting. Many people still find these coins in old collections, piggy banks, and even circulation, because they do not realize what they have. So what should you look for? First, check the date, 1939. Then look closely at the back of the coin. Pay attention to the steps of Monticello and look for any doubling in the letters. If you see something unusual, do not ignore it. Also check the mint mark coins from Philadelphia have no mint mark, while those from Denver have a small D and from San Francisco have an S. Some of these combinations are rarer than others, especially in high grades. Coin collecting is like a treasure hunt hiding in plain sight, and the 1939 Jefferson Nickel is a perfect example of how something small can hold incredible value. So before you spend your next nickel, take a second look, because you might be holding a piece of history worth far more than 5 cents. If you enjoyed this and want to learn about more rare coins that could change your life, make sure to stay tuned, because the next coin might be sitting in your pocket right now. Imagine this. You are seconds away from spending a simple 5-cent coin, and without realizing it, you could be throwing away hundreds or even thousands of dollars. This is not a joke. This is the hidden reality of rare Jefferson nickels, especially the shocking 1939 versions that collectors are desperately searching for. Right now, there are people across the world digging through old jars, coin rolls, and forgotten boxes hoping to find this exact coin because one tiny detail can completely change its value. The 1939 Jefferson nickel looks ordinary at first glance, but hidden within this year are rare varieties that can turn a common coin into a collector dream. And the craziest part is many of these coins are still out there unnoticed. Let us take this to another level. There is a specific variety called the doubled die reverse, and when you see it, you might not believe your eyes. The letters on the back appear doubled, almost like a shadow effect, and this small mistake created during minting has turned into one of the most valuable errors in nickel history. Some of these coins have sold for life-changing amounts, and what is even more shocking is that people have found them in everyday circulation. Yes, real people finding rare coins in regular change. Now imagine finding one in perfect condition. Collectors call it full steps. This means the steps on Monticello are clearly visible and not worn down, and this detail alone can multiply the value of the coin many times over. There are stories of collectors paying thousands just for that perfect combination of date, mint, mark, and condition, and every year these coins become harder to find, making them even more valuable. But here is something most people do not know. Not all 1939 nickels are equal. Some were minted in different locations, and each version has its own rarity. Level coins from certain mints in high-grade condition are extremely scarce and highly desired. Now picture this. You are going through an old coin jar from your grandparents, or maybe a box that has not been opened in years, and suddenly you spot that 1939 date. Your heart starts racing because you now know this could be something big. This is what makes coin collecting so addictive. It is like a real-life treasure hunt, where history, money, and mystery all come together in the palm of your hand. And the most shocking truth of all is that people ignore coins every single day without checking them. They spend them, they lose them, and sometimes they unknowingly give away something incredibly valuable.